Hi, everyone, and welcome to SDP Connect. My name is Christiana Morales, and I am the Director of Self-Determination Program here at DVU. Before we get started, I want everybody to know that we do have interpretation. If you're on your computer, go to the bottom of your screen to the globe, select the globe, and select your language. Even if you speak English, make sure you select English, because if something is translated, you won't hear it translated. If you're on a cell phone, go to the bottom of your cell phone. There's 3 dots. Select the 3 dots, and then the choices for your interpretation will come up. Well, welcome everyone so much to Self-Determination SDP Connect this week. We have a really exciting presentation. I actually am looking forward to seeing this. I can't wait for it. But before we get started, we have the conference coming up, and I am so excited about all of the different breakout rooms. I want to be in every single one. So I want to start by introducing, who really needs no introduction, Judy Mark, our president, who's going to talk to us about the conference.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Great to see you all. Before we get started on the conference, I want to just acknowledge that 10 years ago, basically this week, 2 days ago, in fact, I'll take it off my wall. On October 9th, 2013. Oh, you can't see it. Hold on. I'll have to take away my background so everybody can see the law. You will see that on 10 years ago this week, the Governor Brown signed the self-determination law. And it was an amazing day, I must say. We were all very excited. Many of us had worked very hard to get this law passed. And it's now 10 years later, and the program is honestly not where we had hoped it would be. But we are moving forward with trying to really fix it so that we can get thousands of more people into the program. And you all are part of our network that will help us do that. And one of the ways we're going to do that is to have our conference. We've had conferences starting in 2014, and we had a conference in 2015, 2017, 2019, 2021 online because of COVID, and 2022, and now we're having our conference in 2023. So I think that's about the 8th conference that we've hosted, and they continue now to be online. We know that many of you want to connect in person again, and we will get back there someday, but having it online allows people who are not able to travel to be able to participate in our conferences. And so for a lot of people, being online is a great opportunity to be more inclusive. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about the conference and what you're going to see at the conference. First of all, the theme of the conference, the title of the conference is Our Future, Our Fight, Our Right to Self-Determination. And we came up with that theme because it really is about people with disabilities having the civil right to make choices in their lives and have control over their lives. It is on November 3rd. You will get in the chat, I am sure, lots of ways for you to register. Another little note is that we're looking for volunteers for the conference. We are looking for people who are able to help administer the breakout rooms on Zoom. So if any of you have any experience with that and are able to join us at the conference, we would love to have you. If I would really appreciate if one of our staff could put in the chat the link to the Google form so that people can volunteer. There it is. Oh no, that's registration, and you'll see in a moment, we'll get in that link to become a volunteer. So what's going to actually happen at the conference? And it starts at 8:30 in the morning with our exhibitor expo. So we have a whole bunch of great exhibitors everything from FMSs and independent facilitators to service providers who serve people in the self-determination program. You will have an opportunity multiple times throughout the day, actually for a total of, I believe, 2 hours, where you can go to the different exhibitor virtual booths and meet directly with our exhibitors. At 9 o'clock, we'll begin the program. After a few greetings from Christiana and myself, we will have a special greeting from the director of the Department of Developmental Services, Nancy Bargeman. We will then move on to a full conference panel. And this panel is called the SDP Principles, is the program living up to them. So all of you should know that the 5 principles of the self-determination program, they are freedom, authority, support, responsibility, and confirmation. And we've added one new principle that we're calling equity as another essential element. And we will have a whole bunch of speakers, most of whom are self-determination participants, but it will also include some family members of participants who are going to talk about each of the principles and talk about ways that the SDP is meeting that principle of freedom or authority and the ways in which the program needs to be improved. We are then taking a break for about 30 minutes, and then we're moving on to a set of 8 breakout sessions. If you come to the conference, you can go to all 8, and you can click into the various Zoom rooms, which you will find on the really cool platform that we use called Whova. By the way, on Whova, you can do much more than click into breakout sessions or visit exhibitors. You can also chat with other SDP members. You can start group chats where you are saying, hey, anybody from the Inland Empire, let's have a chat about the kinds of cool things that we can do out here together. So we're going to have 8 breakout sessions. They will cover all kinds of issues, from person-centered planning to developing your individual budget for the first time and then into the future and future years. We're having an amazing panel called Our Program, Our Stories, a self-advocate's perspective on the SDP, filled with all people who are served by regional centers who are participating in the self-determination program. We're having a session called What Works for Us, Getting Employed Through the SDP, looking at really cool ways to get employment, just like you're going to be hearing later on today. And we're doing a session called Self-Determination in All Seasons, which will look at transitioning from, early start to school age, from transition to adulthood, higher education, employment, moving out of your family home, becoming an older adult. And we'll be looking at all of these different ways that the self-determination program can support you. We also have a session called Now What? Your first steps after the SDP orientation. And we know that a lot of people take that multi-hour orientation and they're still completely confused on what to do next. And we're going to be focusing on that. We're going to have a session on spending plans, on how to actually develop your spending plan and make sure that you're accounting for all the costs that you're going to need. And then our last session in the morning is called Can They Really Do That? The role of the regional center in the SDP. We hear that question all the time here at DVU. Can my regional center really do that? And sometimes the answer is, oh yeah, they can. And sometimes the answer is, not so much. Let's figure out how to help you on this. We're going to take another break at that time after that, and where you can visit the exhibitors or go off Zoom for a little while and relax. And then we go back at 1 o'clock with our afternoon breakout sessions, where we're going to repeat in different languages the What Works for Us session and the spending plan session. In one time, we'll be doing it in Spanish only, and the next time we'll be doing it in English only. We're also going to talk about getting unstuck, how to handle standstills and roadblocks in the SDP. A lot of people say, oh, I can't move forward because all of this stuff is happening, and we're going to help walk you through how to get unstuck. We're going to have a whole session of FMSs. And the FMSs are, we've invited all of the FMSs to attend. We have not heard back from all of them yet, but we're hoping that all of them will be there. You'll have a chance to interact with the FMSs and find maybe an FMS that will fit in your life well. We're doing a session called A Place Called Home, how the SDP can help find and secure housing, which is a great one. Now, the SDP generally does not pay for your housing costs. However, there's a lot of cool things around housing that it can pay for. We're doing an SDP reality check, breaking down the myths and looking at the realities of the program, because I hear a lot of things that aren't actually true out there. We're going to do a session called All Eyes on the SDP. Can DDS and advisory committees do more? And we're going to really be looking at what are those checks and balances on the SDP through the local advisory committees, the statewide advisory committee, as well as we're having the chief person at DDS who is supposed to provide accountability on the program. Susie Reckworth will be on that panel. Our last panel that afternoon is called An Imperfect Storm, the Potential 2024 Independent Facilitator Crisis. For those of you who may not know, there is going to be a big change in January on the way that independent facilitators are going to be funded, and its potential that there will be very few left, helping to transition people into the program for the first time. And then we'll all come back together in a large group, and our final panel is going to be kind of fun. We're calling it, If I Had a Magic Wand, I Could Fix the Self-Determination Program. And we're going to have a whole bunch of experts on this panel, from participants in the program to family members to executive directors of regional centers, FMSs, attorneys, independent facilitators, who are going to be given 1 minute. Well, they'll be presented a specific problem that or a barrier in the program, and then a few of them will have 1 minute to come up with a solution to that problem. And of course, we'll be recording all of these sessions. Maybe there's like, oh my God, I want to go to 4 of those breakouts. Don't worry, we'll be recording all of the sessions, and you will have a chance to go back and look on YouTube all of the sessions that you missed, and you'll get to learn at the pace that you want to learn it. So that is the session. That is the program. Christiana, did I forget anything?
No, I think you hit them all, but I do want to point out that if you want to see those videos afterwards, you do have to register for the conference. So register for the conference, and then you can, even if you can't be there Friday, you can see them all later on. So
great. All right, now I guess you want to pass it on to Monica?
Yes, so next, Monica is going to do a walkthrough for the registration. We've heard that it's a little bit confusing, so we want to make sure that everybody knows how to register. And so take it away, Monica.
All righty. Thank you, Christiana, and thank you, Judy. So the agenda is set, and those of you who may not have registered yet, I'm going to walk you through the registration process. So I'm just going to share my screen here. And can you see my screen okay?
No.
No. Okay. Share. There we go. Are we good now?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm at the Disability Voices United webpage, and this is your starting point to register. So go ahead and go to our webpage, or it's probably in your favorites. So go ahead and grab it from there and just scroll down. So you can scroll right down to Our Future, Our Fight, Our Right to Self-Determination. Here, you want to go ahead and click Learn More. You can also click En Español for the Spanish version. So I'm going to go ahead and click Learn More to get to the registration page. Again, so you have an option to continue on in Spanish. We are at the registration page. I will scroll down a little bit. And here, starting today, in addition to register now, this is where you can take a peek at the conference agenda that Judy just walked through. So there's a link in the chat, and here's another place you can go on our website, conference agenda, to look at the speakers. Since we are registering, I'm going to click on register now. And in the register now option, there are a few different ticket types. So we have the self-pay option. So if you're just going to pay for the conference yourself, this is what you would choose. I'm going to walk through the regional center funded ticket if you are going to ask for a POS for your regional center to pay for it. And I'm going to walk through the SDP FMS funded ticket if you're going to be following up with your FMS for it, for conference registration. We also have the professionals tickets here too. So let's start with regional center funded ticket. I need to choose how many, and we can only choose one. And that's because each registration is linked to an email account, and that becomes your way to get in. So if you need to register for more than one person, or you're trying to register a friend, walk that person through it separately, because each registration is unique based on your email address. I'm going to go ahead and click one and next. So here's where I need to enter some information. I need to enter my name, and I'm just going to put a lot of Monica here. I'm going to put Monica at DV United. Oopsie. Doing this on the fly. There we go. This is also my email address. If you have specific questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Different keyboard, guys. I'm sorry. I thought I was being fancy. Not on my laptop. Okay, confirm your email. All right, one ticket. This is a regional center funded ticket for Monica. And here's my email. Here's my phone number. So what am I? Am I a person served by a regional center? I will say I'm the family member of a person served by a regional center. But what I need to enter next is my family member's name, because we need this information for follow-up. So I'm going to say it's Mick Monica. That's my family member. Which regional center am I served by? I'll go ahead and choose Alta and scroll down. What is my family member's UCI number? This is really important because that's the unique ID. That's how we're going to get paid. So I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 as the UCI number, first and last name of your service coordinator. Nice person. Email address, nice person @.com. See if it'll take that. Phone number. Okay, so this is all mandatory information that we need entered. So I understand this is an important part that some people may not know, is that when we're entering this information, we're also agreeing that I, as the person who's registering, must obtain an authorization for the conference from my service coordinator. So I'm agreeing to take some follow-up steps. So agree here. And I'm buying a regional center funded ticket. Next to the payment information. Shucks.org. The good thing is it catches errors for you. All right, scroll down to next. So here's the payment information. Credit or debit card, why would I want to pay for this? My regional center is going to do that. So what you do is you click on the down arrow here and you're going to choose invoice. This invoice option is what allows you to get through the registration process without paying and taking those next steps to follow up. So you can put your personal information here. And please don't put these answers, put your correct information. Turkey, I mean, it came up, I'm just going with it. All right. So, all right, so we've entered our invoice information. Doesn't mean I'm responsible as a registrant to pay for it. It just lets us get through this process so our regional center can pay for it. And then we're going to hit submit. Your registration will be incomplete until payment is confirmed by the organizers. So what that means is until we receive some sort of confirmation from your regional center, such as an email from your service coordinator saying, yes, we will fund so-and-so's ticket, I will send an authorization. That's fine. Some service coordinators have already sent authorization. That's wonderful. As long as we have a confirmation from someone at the regional center that says, yes, we will pay for it, then you will receive admittance to the conference. And I understand we may not get paid till later. So then we'll just hit continue and that's it. So thank you for registering. So right here is another again, until DVU receives your payment, your registration is incomplete. So just reminders along the way that you as a registrant have next steps to take. So please take those next steps. Not sure that I need to go through the entire process for an FMS. It is very much the same, but let me know if you want me to, Christiana. So if I am someone who is going to reach out to my FMS for funding, then what you're going to do is you're going to select one ticket. And you're going to scroll down. Next. And you're going to fill out the exact same information. Some of the questions are going to be different. So instead of service coordinator, it's going to ask you for your FMS. I just ask that you complete everything and take the next steps. So it's on you guys to take those next steps to obtain the funding. Please feel free to keep me in the loop on any of your communications with your service coordinators. But for the FMS, make sure it's in your spending plan. Make sure that you have given me any information I may need. So some folks need an invoice. Reach out to me and I'll get that to you. Let me know exactly what you need in that invoice. Some FMSs have just paid by credit card. So there's a whole lot of variables on the back end, but what doesn't change is that you need to take those next steps, coordinate with me, and together we'll move forward to get your registration complete so that you can participate. Thank you.
Thanks, Monica, for
You're
walking us
welcome.
through that. I know that there was some confusion with that part where it said the credit card or the invoice. So thank you so much for clearing that
Okay.
for everyone. And then I also want to say, you can also pay for yourself if you'd like to, and that's on the very top of that list, and that's the easiest way to do it. We do have a deadline for you to be able to pay through the financial management service or spending plan or through your regional center, and that is what was the date again? I believe it is.
It's Friday the 20th of this month.
Thank you, Kira. I meant to write it down and I forgot. So everybody remember, Friday the 20th is the deadline if you want to have your financial management service or your regional center pay for it. After that, you would have to pay on your own for it. So make sure that, oh, Monica has her hand up.
You know what, can I just add, Lourdes asked a question in the chat that I should have addressed. Orange County, Lourdes asked if Orange County and Valley Mountain Regional Center are paying for their individuals like they did last year. So the answer is Orange County is. We have not received confirmation from Valley Mountain. So anyone who is a participant who works with the Orange County Regional Center, their local vendor advisory committee has agreed to pay for the registrants who register. So you go through the regional center funding, and when you indicate Orange County, that tells me on the back end, I'll reach out to them directly afterwards. You don't need to go to your service coordinator for that. So Orange County at this point is the only regional center vendor advisory committee who is doing that.
It's
Yep.
not vendor advisory
Oh,
committee.
LVAC,
It's self-determination advisory committee.
Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
the local volunteer advisory committee.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. I'm
I
done.
should also mention that we are not vendored at all 21 regional centers. There's a chance if any of you are from South Central Regional Center that they're not accepting our vendorship because they put some ridiculous restrictions on us that make it very hard. So I'm not sure. So please reach out to us if you're from South Central Regional Center and you're having problems in the traditional system, having the regional center pay for you.
So wonderful. Thank you all so much for that. And I'm so excited for it. It's coming up soon. I want to present our speaker for today. And this is Becky Tschirgi, and she is 45 years of experience with people with disabilities around employment. That is so impressive to me. And she's her own micro enterprise owner and operator. So she's going to be talking to us about micro enterprises and what you can do in the self-determination, with employment and how exciting this is. So Becky, welcome. Thank you so much for coming and presenting.
Wonderful to be here. Hold on a sec while I share my screen. There we go. Ta-da! Thank you so much for inviting me, and I'm really excited to be here. I'm even more excited about the possibilities for folks in self-determination. So before I get ahead of myself, let me share with you a little bit about what I'd like to do. Okay, I'd like for my screen to work. There we go. So what we're going to do for the next hour is we're going to talk about self-employment, or another name for that is micro-enterprise. We're going to talk a little bit about the pros and cons, because there's always good sides and there's always downsides to everything. So I think it's important for people to kind of understand a little bit about both. We're going to talk about the process through customized self-employment and the different aspects of that. Within that, we're going to talk a little bit about what the ideal conditions of employment are. And this is a term that I learned through Griffin Hammes that has served me and the people that I've worked with very well. We're also going to talk a little bit, and I'm saying a little bit, about Social Security benefits, because I know it's a big ticket item for a lot of people. And I included it because I know that it's a concern that a lot of families have. We'll share some examples of self-determination budget expenditures. And then at the very end, I'm going to share a training announcement. So hope you're ready. Here we go. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about me. I would like to joke and tell people that I started when I was 2. That would only make me 47, so then I could deal with that better. But yeah, I've been around for a long time. I see a few names that I recognize. Most of the people that I worked with throughout my career have retired. And as I was contemplating retirement, COVID hit. And I've had my own micro enterprise for 17 years. Most of the consulting I've done is with nonprofits. And I've done some with individuals around customized employment and self-employment. And so when COVID hit, of course, all of that kind of stopped. And I thought, well, maybe now's the time to retire. And I kept getting inquiries from families who wanted someone to help them with their son or daughter's business. And in the beginning, I said no, because I thought, I don't know if I want to do that. And I didn't know a lot about self-determination. I was more on the fringe. And then one parent called me, and she didn't have an IF, and she really needed to convince her local regional center that her son was in fact an artist and could have his own art business. And so she reeled me in, and this was towards the last part of COVID. And I just got so excited about the possibilities for folks that I agreed to take on a few other people. In doing this work, I realized that I've learned a lot over the last 17 years when it comes to customized employment and self-employment. And I've made a bunch of mistakes. And I'm willing to, share my mistakes so that hopefully other people don't have to go through those same mistakes. Part of the problem for me, though, the major barrier was what I call, and I didn't name this, it came from Dale DeLeo in his book, Raymond's Room, and he named it the Disability Industrial Complex. And it was the major barrier to people being successful in self-employment because the funding support wasn't there. And so the only people that I could really be successful with before self-determination were families that could afford to hire me independent of our funding mechanisms. So anyway, that's a little bit about me. I really desire to share what I've learned. So again, I'm hoping that I spark interest in some folks that want to do what I do, because what I'd love to do is to be a mentor. So let's talk about customized employment. I'm sure some of you have heard the term. It's been around for a long time. I looked back to find him when I got my ACRE certification, and it was 17 years ago. So it was right around the same time I started my own business. And I went to training through Griffin-Hammis, and it was at the East Los Angeles Regional Center. It was one of the first customized trainings that they did. And I was part of a grant working with an organization in Whittier. And so we learned about the whole process. And I was really excited because I had, I've been around for a while, and supported employment was great, but it didn't always work for folks. And we didn't always make good job matches. It was more employer driven and focused than it was from the individual person's perspective. So anyway, customized employment is looking at the person's strengths and skills, matching that to an employer's needs, and negotiating some kind of a job with that for that person. The picture, I have a release of information, but it's an old one, so I blanked his face out just in case. He was a young man that wanted to work around college-age students, and he was in his early 20s. A lot of the things that the agency that was working with him had tried, he didn't really want. And so we kind of followed the process, went to the Chamber of Commerce, found a business that had just opened. It was right across from a university, and it was a coffee shop, and they had a position that we helped create. And so it was a perfect customized job. It met his ideal conditions of employment. He wanted to be, work around young people. He also got some free food, and he got to learn all of the stuff about being a barista and all of that. And then there's also self-employment, which is what we're going to focus on today. And it's usually a small business, meaning like me, it's just you and your business. And it's based around what your talents and skills are, matched with an unmet need in the community. So you can see Sue there. I had the privilege of working with Sue for many years, and helped her develop her Sue Rubin Consulting business. And it was definitely based around what Sue did best. And she really had a mission to change how people viewed disability, and especially people that didn't use language to speak. So if you wondered, just in case you wondered what a micro enterprise is, here's the definition. It means a small business, usually of 10 people or less. So customized self-employment, I kind of said this, but it's where a person with a disability receives assistance to figure out if, in fact, self-employment is what they really want to do. And so it's really looking at their strengths, their skills, their talents, their passions, and seeing what part of that, or if all of that then can be meshed with an unmet need in the community that people would pay for. So whether it's a product or a service, it might meet those ideal conditions, but it might not be something people are willing to spend money on. And so if that's the case, then we have to kind of regroup and figure out what's going on. And it takes a lot of individualized planning and figuring out what support strategies does that person need to succeed. It's based on some guiding values that I kind of put together from what I learned from Griffin Hammes and Associates, and then along the way. So definitely presuming competence, focusing on the person's abilities and capabilities and strengths and talents and skills, as opposed to deficits. Believing that with this person's abilities, there are endless opportunities. And sometimes there's so many endless opportunities, we have to narrow down where we're going to start. But it's important to not be so narrow focused in the beginning that you lose out on a bigger picture. It's definitely around self-determination, around interdependence. None of us are truly independent in and of ourselves. And so the values of this are based around the fact that we do need each other to do some things for us. And for example, in my business, with the calculator, I'm fine. I hate doing spreadsheets and I hate that part of the business. So I hire someone to do that for me. And because I would sit there and be very unhappy if I had to do it myself. So anyway, I'm interdependent on others. Supports are provided as determined by the individual, not like me or the family. So it's based on what the individual really needs to be successful. And then whatever the business provides, whether it's a product or a service, that are based on competitive levels. So here's Sue presenting at a conference with her facilitator, Renee. And when I asked her when she was working, what were the benefits for self-employment for her? And the first one for Sue was to be able to set her own work schedule. And I think for a lot of us that are self-employed, that's kind of like the number one. You can figure out if you want to work late at night, you can work late at night. You want to work early in the morning, you work early in the morning. As long as you don't have, and you can set meetings when you want to have meetings. Or if you go to a conference, you can figure out, do I want to go to this conference or not? She said it's really nice being your own boss. And having been an executive director for 10 years and then a vice president of a very large nonprofit and supervising a bunch of folks, I so much prefer just being my own boss and having me to deal with. So I think a lot of people have that in common. It's nicer than working for somebody else. The money that is earned for a person with a developmental disability is not considered against the monthly SSI payment. And we'll talk a little bit about that later. Let me repeat that again though, just I want to make sure it sinks in. So the business income is considered the business's income. And as long as it's in a separate account, banking account, it does not apply against the monthly SSI payment. We also found out that the business income didn't count against Section 8 housing. So that was good news. And then for Sue, it met her ideal conditions of employment. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that means too. So some of the cons of self-employment is inconsistent income. So for someone who has specific financial needs, self-employment may or may not work for them, because, you know, some months or some quarters you're making a whole bunch and others you're not making anything. So you have to be able to survive on that. It requires that time is built into your schedule. So some of the people that I've met, especially those that are new to transitioning into the adult world and employment, have all these great activities that they do in their schedule. And then when it's time to figure out, okay, if you're going to work for yourself and you want to either produce this product or you want to provide this service, when are you going to put that in your schedule? And so it means carving out time for that to happen. When you work for yourself, of course, you don't get paid for holidays or sick time. You only get paid for the time that you actually sell a product or provide a service. Some people in businesses might have trouble finding customers. I haven't had that happen with the folks that I work with yet. There is some competition when you work for yourself around other people that might be doing the same thing that you want to do. When you work at home, and especially if you have a home office, it's sometimes difficult to separate home life from work life. My family always gives me a really bad time about spending too much time in my office. I'm real comfortable in here, and I tend to gravitate in here, which means that they get left out. So I have for me, my personal thing is to make sure that I have balance. When you own and operate your own business, there is a self-employment tax, because as a self-employed person, you're not paying into FICA or into Social Security. And so there's a tax that's there. Depending upon how much money you're making, you might have to make quarterly payments. And of course, then you're responsible for retirement planning, because you don't get a retirement unless you've invested your money somewhere. So here's the process. It looks really simple. It looks very linear, and it may or may not happen in a very linear manner. It kind of depends on the individual and their support network and what needs to happen. But the first part of the process is what's called discovery. And it's named that because the idea is that you're looking at the individual and you really, really want to know what their strengths and skills are. And it isn't just a matter of saying, hey, Sam, what do you do well? Hey, Sam's mom, what do you see as his skills? It's actually hanging out with Sam and having him demonstrate his skills, or going with Sarah to see, does she really like children, or is it just that she likes her nieces and nephews? So it's really checking out to see what those skills are and what environments those skills fit. And looking at options too, because self-employment is not for everyone. It requires a lot of support, and some folks prefer working for an employer. But there's also folks that have like a job where they're only working 15 hours a week that like to have what we call a side hustle. So their own business on the side. So some folks can combine both. So once we understand the person really well and what their strengths are and what supports are, then we get into the developing the business phase. This is an area that sometimes people get bogged down in or want to skip. So you really have to test out your business idea. So I'm working with a young man right now that loves drawing cartoons. And so part of what we have to do is to see if anybody's interested in his cartoons. Would they purchase the cartoons? Would a cartoon strip work for him? Would a YouTube channel talking about what's happening with the character's work? That kind of thing. So we really have to test the feasibility, see if what the person thinks they want to do is something that other folks would purchase. We want to look at equipment and supply needs. And then we also do benefits planning, because we want to make sure that kind of based on what the person wants to make and we think they can make, how's that going to affect benefits and what does that mean? So once we've done all of that, oh, and we also look at during that period of time, we research other businesses that are similar. So what are they doing and how is what we're doing unique from that? Because we want to, that's part of our marketing strategy, is kind of what do we do better than other folks? So once we have all that done, then comes the business plan and pricing and distribution and marketing and figuring out any licenses or registration, insurance, all of that comes in. And once the business is launched and going, then there's the, what do we going to want to refine? Looking at what works, what doesn't work. Do we need tools for technology? Do we need more training? How do we grow customers? Customer service, and then also, are the supports in place working? If they're not working, what do we need to move on? So ideal conditions of employment are around what a person's personal attributes are. So things like, do they like to work with people, without people? Are they introvert and extrovert? Do they like to work with their hands, or do they prefer technology? Things like that. And we look at what their interests, skills, and strengths are, like we said, preferences, and what kind of relationships matter. So all of this boils down to what gets you up in the morning. So I'm currently working with a gentleman that has realized through this discovery process that when he's in charge of meetings and he's in charge of social business interactions, it drains his energy. And he's only really able to handle that for about 30 minutes. But he's discovered a new passion, and it's technology and databases and flowcharts and all of that cool stuff that he just gets real excited about. He can spend hours and hours doing that. So for him, we're going to help base his business around what gets him up in the morning. So here's your Social Security Benefits 101, just a really brief summary. Again, the money earned from business doesn't count against the SSI on a monthly basis. It will later, but it doesn't on a monthly basis. If there's more than $2,000 in the business checking, you know, because that's the magic number for losing SSI. It's in the business account. It's considered the business's income. It does not count against your monthly SSI. So you don't have to worry when you have your own business about fluctuating income and going up and down, and that affecting your SSI on a monthly basis. For those of you who really want to understand this better, I'm just going to throw this out here again. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but I thought it would be helpful if you could see an example. So here's one. If somebody were making, this would be a good amount to be making for self-employment. So say they made $30,000 and 10 of it were expenses. So their net profit is $20,000. So Social Security will then figure out what they call net earnings from self-employment, or NEES for short. And they take that net profit, they multiply it times a little bit over 9%, and they come up with the annual amount that they're going to then look at compared to what the person's making in Social Security. So they divide that by 12 and get that amount. I know I'm going really fast, and you will get this on a handout. And if you really, really, really want more, we'll see what we can figure out. So then they take the monthly NEES amount. And of course, you know, Social Security has these two amounts that they always deduct. And so you get the $1,454.17, and it's divided by 2. So in essence, they're counting 9%, and then half of that 9% as your countable income. And so then that would be deducted from your SSI. The good news is that you're making more than you did with just SSI. You have your own business. you have a better quality life, you feel better about yourself. And if you did make enough money to get off SSI, you do not have to apply again, and you remain eligible for Medicare. All right. So one of the other questions that came up were kind of, how would my budget look if I were self-employed? And so I just wanted to throw this up there to kind of give you an idea. You'd have the business activity, who the support's going to be, hours a month, the cost, and the source. So of course, there's always a generic in there. Examples of costs for SDP budgets. So the whole process, the discover, develop, launch, and ongoing supports, all of that is covered through your SDP budget. Before that, it wasn't covered. People, again, there were some ways that you could get some of it, but not to the degree that was needed. The direct service folks can provide one-on-one coaching and mentoring and be paid to do that. You can hire people that have, like an artist who can mentor your artist, or somebody who has their own business that can help, or somebody who's worked in technology that can help do training. You can, and other startup costs, so things like your business license, internet for your first year, website hosting, things like that can all be covered on your SDP budget. I want to end with questions. We're out of time, but before we get there, I will be teaching an 8-session course starting November the 7th, and it's going to be from 3:30 to 5:30. And all of this that I talked really, really fast through will be handled in more detail for a small group of 15 to 20 people. And we'll go through the whole process. There will be homework about each section to make sure that people understand how to do it. I will be available for 2 coaching calls that comes with the class. If there's info, say like Social Security, that people really wanted more on, we'll do an extra class. So anyway, if you're interested, there's my email address. And I would like to open it now for questions. We have about 8 minutes. So let me stop share so I can see you. And maybe if you
That was wonderful. Thank you so much, Becky. We put your contact information in the chat, and we will do it again. We also shared the slides if anybody wants to take a look. They were worried about having to take furious notes, and they said, oh, good. Thank you so much. So they appreciated that. So typically how we do questions is you can either raise your hand if you would like to, and we will call on you, or you can put your questions in the chat and then we read them out. So let me look at our list of chat. We don't have anybody with their hands raised yet, so I will see. This is an interesting question. If the business is in a living trust, will this allow recipients to keep their SSI or SSDI or SSD?
That's something I'd have to find out. I don't know that answer.
I wasn't even sure you could put a business in a living trust. So that's an interesting question.
Yeah, so let me try to clarify that. So I don't think it's that the business would ever be in a living trust. I think the business could have its own account. So if the business is making money, then that individual is not making any money and the individual's benefits are not at risk. However, why would you start a business if the individual is not going to be making any money from it? So what certainly could happen is, let's say you start a business and the business has an income of $3,000 per month. You can pay out to the individual $1,000 or $1,500 of that, and the rest of that money stays in the business. And therefore, the only taxable income that is being reported is the amount of money that is provided to the individual. So it wouldn't be in a trust. And remember that individual cannot keep in a savings account more than a certain amount of money and remain eligible for certain types of benefits. So you do have to be thoughtful about it. But as Becky said, always when you make money, you will absolutely have more money at the end of the day, because they'll combine your income with the remaining SSI, and it will always be more.
So there was a question that came to me that said, I have a business but make no income. How can it be a business and not a hobby? This is a common question we get, and where people don't take people who have something that they want to create and sell seriously. They always call it a hobby. So I think this is a great question.
Yeah, it depends on how the person themselves views what they do. When I first started this, I would have answered that if they don't make money, it's a hobby. That would have been my own opinion about it. But over time, that's changed, because I have seen when people put their heart and soul into something, and the benefit from that is they're giving to charity, they're doing it for fundraisers, for whatever reason, they're deriving the same benefit that they would be deriving as if they were earning an income. Now, the thing that I would do is I'd try to figure out how to have them make money. So if they're not, there's something wrong there. Doesn't mean that they're going to make a lot of money, but they should be making some money.
So a good piece could be, this is where self-determination and working with somebody who understands micro enterprises could turn that hobby into an employment. And I think that times have changed where you've got places like Etsy and other places that you can sell these, and that people can now make them into money-making businesses. Not that I'm endorsing Etsy or anything. It was just one I happen to know off the top of my head. Our next question was from Will Sanford. He said, you can use CalAble accounts to help on the asset limit challenge.
There is no asset limit in the business banking, and you're going to have to pay tax on what you earn in your business. You can transfer that money to CalAble. So that's actually, Will, that's a really good question, because I need more clarification on how that would work. I just know that, when you work, you pay tax, and even if you transfer it, you have to do an income tax return based on what you earned. Judy, do you know any more about that?
Yeah, so there's taxes that businesses have to pay, and then there's taxes that people need to pay who are employed or receive income from the business, right? So and Will, I know, has his hand up, so let me have you unmute to help me clarify this. But what you can do, what I think, Will, what you were talking about as far as CalAble is that you don't transfer money directly from the business to CalAble. You transfer money from the individual's account into CalAble. Is that right, Will?
Yeah, the business is the business, and in the micro enterprise, often it's it's either limited liability or it's self-employment. It's going on their personal income tax, and that's where the taxes show up, and that's where as Becky went through, the net self-employment piece is really going to be put against someone's SSI, because it shows up as income. If you've earned dollars, in that space, the federal government is going to want to play in that space and make sure they make adjustments over time. Good news is it happens that, you actually build up some things. They do it once a year versus every month in that space, and it's based on that income tax return. I just add, as people have money come in and they're paying themselves and say, oh, gee, I have more than $2,000. That's where CalAble or an ABLE account of any kind can come in and help take you below that limit. Because again, if you have $2,001, for over 30 days, the feds will stop giving you your Social Security income. That's one of the things that they will do. So the CalAble account is a way to help protect and allow people to build up assets, and it's much easier to control, and you can spend it on almost anything that's related to disability versus something like, a past plan that Becky and I have been around long enough to know that they're available, but they're not the easiest thing in the world to do with.
The other thing that I'm aware of is that in the ABLE account, you can have some of your income go directly into your ABLE account, but there's rules around that and how that works to protect some of that SSI income. Tim has his hand up.
Becky, it's been a while. I should have gone with you before I got a job. I want to start my own business as another side hustle and potentially start my own nonprofit or S corporation. What are the benefits of hiring you as an employment specialist versus just going to an attorney and accountant and help me set up a nonprofit or a S corporation?
Thanks, Tim. Hi, good to see you too. Benefits of a nonprofit are if you own property, you don't pay taxes, and if you want to get donations or grants, you can do that. The downside for an individual is it's not your business. And so it would be like having another wage job. You would be like the executive director or the CEO, and you would get a salary. And that salary would be like what you're getting. So you wouldn't gain the tax benefits for yourself. As far as hiring me, I think I've helped folks start nonprofits. I've been in the nonprofit world for forever. I could probably advise you on whether that's a good way to go or not. You don't necessarily have to be an S corp. It depends on what you want to do. And if you want to just be the sole employee or be self-employed, or if you want to hire other people, that determines then, what you do. If you do an LLC or you do whatever it is you want to do. So I'd be happy to have a conversation with you about it if you want to kind of talk about it more.
Wonderful. So we had another question, which was, I think it was a follow-up to the one who said that they had the hobby, but they weren't making any money. And it said, what if you have more expenses than income? How does SDP funds come into business expenses?
I'm learning because I'm not an SDP expert. My expertise is in the self-employment side. So a lot of times I defer to the IFs and say, can we do this? And if they say no, well, my next thing is, well, what if? So we try to figure out how to do it. If the business expenses are more than you're making, some of those expenses might be able to be covered through your spending plan. Like I noted in the presentation, some of the things that can be covered. The other thing is, a lot of times when you first start your business, you lose money. Or like during COVID, I lost money for 3 years in a row. So it kind of depends on, is it because you haven't figured out how to market your services yet? If your expenses are more than you're bringing in, is there a way to change that? And then the other thing I think is that probably some of that could be covered through your budget, through your spending plan.
So I can answer to a little bit about the STB funds. One of them that you could do, which could potentially help you, is look at something like customized employment. And they can really help you figure out, you were talking about the feasibility and those kind of pieces. So you can get some like business help, business management help, how to set this business up, all of those kind of things through a spending plan. Remember, it has to be in your person-centered plan and in your IPP to say, I want to start a business and I'm going to need assistance with this. It could help you buy the equipment that you need. If there's something that you need to produce something or whatever for your business, it could help you with any assistance that you need. Let's say, I'm going to need somebody who can, if you, let's say it is a Etsy business and you need somebody to take the things to the mailbox box once a week, or that you need somebody to help you pack up your packages, or those kind of things. So there's a lot, I mean, as many ways as you can think of, self-determination can help you. The only thing it cannot do is purchase what you are going to manufacture with. So let's say you're going to make jewelry. It can't purchase the things that you need, the beads and the strings and all that to make the jewelry, because that is part of you selling, something you're going to sell. That should be part of your business. But if you need a tool, or you need something especially that is a special tool because of your disability, it could absolutely help purchase any of those kind of things. So the good thing about self-determination is it does open a lot of things, of supports and things that you didn't have in the traditional system for all of those kind of things that can come out and really help you create your own micro enterprise. Miriam, your hand is up.
Hi, I have a question. In your presentation, you said several times it can be paid for from the budget, but I assume you meant it can be put in the spending plan. Most of these costs cannot be added to the budget. Is that correct?
That's correct, Miriam. Remember, DOR is the generic resource first when it comes to employment things. So you would probably be working some sort of partnership with DOR, and there are some pieces they can cover. After that, there's some things, but not a lot you can put in your budget for employment. But again, this is where your spending plan gets powerful. So you're very, very astute. Miriam caught that. People get budget and spending plan confused all the time. We do it about 1 million times in every Connect.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for saying that too, because I'm, like I said, SDP is not where my expertise lies. Mine's in the self-employment part. So yeah. So in your splending plan.
We're now going to have splending plan. Kathleen put the question, what about a LLC? I'm not sure what that means. You probably do.
It's a limited liability corporation. And there are benefits to LLCs. Again, it depends on what the structure of the business is and what the person wants to do. And if they're going to hire contractors or subcontractors, what their expenses are, all of that makes a person decide what structure they want to do. So it depends. Like I said, the easiest and the most flexible is self-employment, sole proprietorship.
So it sounds like it's probably something you want to talk over with somebody before you make that decision of what kind of business you have, what's going to be best for you, and
yeah. And that's part of the whole discovery process too. And then the feasibility part is kind of like, okay, so now we know what you want to do, what structure is going to best work for you, and then here's the pros and cons of the different structures, and you would make that decision before you launch.
Yeah. So Val Demitra said, what is CalAble versus any other business account? This is a great question. CalAble is a specific account for people with disabilities, and it is a tax-free account, but it also is not counted against your public benefits. And so that is the case, meaning if you get SSI or SSDI, you can have money in your CalAble account and it doesn't count against it. So it was kind of an answer to, everybody says that, that $2,000 max keeps people in poverty. And so the creation of the CalAble account was kind of created to help this. So you can put up to $15,000 a year. You or anyone else can put money into the CalAble account up to $15,000 per year, with a maximum of, I believe it's $150,000. And that won't count against your SSI. So, now A business account is something completely different. I'll let Becky talk about what a business account is.
A business account is a business banking account. So it can be a checking account. Some people have business savings. I just have a simple business checking account. And so when I get paid, my revenue from my earnings go into my business checking account. And anybody that has a business generally will have an account under their business name. Some people use like their own name. So like Tim Gin Nonprofit Incorporated, or like mine is Innovative Consulting Solutions, and that's the name of my business account.
So your business account is not considered your personal income.
Correct.
And so that's why it's two separate entities. So now if you needed money, let's say, so all of the money from your work goes into the business account. Do the people get paid? Do they pay themselves? Does their business pay themselves?
Well, so this is one of the beauties of having a business account is unless you go to the trouble of paying yourself through a check, it's still not considered income. So you can transfer that money. If you want to, you can pay your bills out of that money. I mean, it's your business's money. So what you want to do with this is up to you. And because it's a business account, it's not viewed by Social Security.
Okay. Will, you have your hand up.
Will, you're on mute.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I had to get you to do it. One thing on the budget side is job right now, discovery, exploration, some of the things that Becky really talked about are things that can be done traditionally in things like tailored day service. So if that's not something that's currently in your, budget, those are items you could add that would help you in the spending plan side. Those are resources. And there's a sort of the question about, can you do it traditionally? Anybody can do micro enterprise. Our traditional system doesn't have great supports. Tailored day service has been the one that's probably the most flexible and supportive of people in micro enterprise, although Department of Rehab has come out with some pretty strong programs in the last year with some incentives that would be really helpful. So that's something to really explore. They might be able to help in that space.
I think the downside to tailored day is that then you're dealing with people that may or may not really understand business. And so what I've seen are that a lot of the businesses are not helping the person maximize their skills and abilities to their full potential. I want to say something about DOR real quick and self-employment. Sometimes Regional Center thinks that they are a generic resource. They are not a generic resource for self-employment. Their self-employment guidelines pretty much rule out most everybody. And there's no support. So for self-employment with DOR, it takes a person to do all the work themselves, support themselves, and their income is supposed to pay for their for self-support. So pretty much, including me, wouldn't be eligible for DOR self-employment.
And certainly not a side hustle or a micro, right? That's but unfortunately, we do have to get the denial from DOR. So we have to basically go and say, we want to do this. And they have to say, no, we can't do that. The other thing that is available out there is the paid internship program. And you can do, and I will say not all regional centers do this. Some of the regional centers will offer you to start a micro enterprise with the paid internship program money. So that is another option. This is something that's held outside of the SDP budget. It's one of those few things that is held outside of the budget. Valdemitra.
Hi, I'm sorry to keep going back to this, but I'm trying to understand this Cal Able. Is it a checking account? Is it a checking account?
No, it's an actual ABLE account, and what it's called CalABLE, and what it looks like is it's similar to like a 401k, where within this account you can make investments. So it's more like a long-term, like a retirement account almost is what it looks similar to. Oh,
So,
wait a second, Tim has a comment about that. I'm sure he's correcting me.
Back to the CalABLE account. $15,000 plus another $17,000 or so in gifts for your CalABLE account. For example, I can put up to $15,000 from my earnings, and also other people like my family or whoever can put an additional $17,000 in my CalABLE account as a gift. Once you reach $100,000 in your ABLE account, you have to use it and can save any more.
See, Tim always knows, he knows everything. So what he's talking about, remember before we talked about you're able to put some of your earnings in to an ABLE account. That's what he's talking about. So you can increase the annual amount you can put in. If you as an individual put your earnings, then the other people can still put that other 15 grand in. Thank you for reminding me, Tim.
so I can open up this account for my adult daughter
Yes.
through the regional center, I guess.
No, it's through CalABLE. Actually, look
Oh.
up CalABLE.
Okay.
Put the link down in the chat.
It's already in the chat.
Oh,
And just
perfect.
one other question. So if I have like a life insurance policy and something were to happen to me, that could go into that CalABLE account?
As long as it doesn't exceed
go-
the 15,000.
Gotcha. Okay.
If it's going to be more than that, you would want to think about something like a special needs trust.
I have a special need trust, but I didn't know about this CalABLE thing for other things.
So now
okay.
the interesting thing with a CalABLE is, so like a special needs trust, they do not own this money, right? The
Right.
trust owns it,
Right.
runs all of it. A
Right.
CalABLE, they actually own that money. That is actually their account.
Okay.
That's the difference between the two.
Okay. And where do I open this? You said go online to find this. Okay.
Yeah, the link's
All
in
right.
the chat and it's called CalABLE.
Okay. So
It's
she
really
could work
easy to
and
set
put
up.
money in. I'm sorry, Tim. So she could work and put money into that as long as it doesn't go over the 15,000. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, she can put, what did you say, 17,000, Tim? Oh no, 15 for her
Up to-
and then 17 for other
From other people.
So
Oh.
gifts or anybody else that wants to put money in their account.
Okay. Well, thank
Every
you for that.
year. Every year.
Every year, yes.
Thank you.
Can I just say a quick word about CalABLE? There are some regional centers who have mistakenly said over the years that CalABLE is a generic resource. And therefore, let's say you in your spending plan, your STP spending plan, want to go on want to, let's say your goal is to, visit your grandfather more or to go to a conference. CalABLE funds can pay for travel to that conference if you want, but your self-determination program funds can also pay for travel to that conference if it relates to your goals. And they are just wrong that CalABLE is a generic resource. Special needs trusts are also not generic resources. DDS has said this unequivocally, that CalABLE and savings accounts are not a generic resource. So I just wanted to make that clear in case you run up against that.
So we have a question that says, do you have any specific suggestions or pointers for the self-discovery to figure out if a certain passion or hobby can translate to a business or not?
So you start with what that happens to be, what that passion is. And then you start doing research about, you know, is this something that exists already out there? Or is there something similar? And if so, how are they marketing it? How are they selling it? If it's something unique, then you figure out how, with friends and family, you can, what we ask people, do a survey. Would you purchase this? If you did, how much would you spend? A real quick, I had a young man that I was working with that wanted to be a dog walker / pet sitter. And we put together a flyer and he took it to all of his neighbors and said, this is what I want to do. Would you hire me for $5 to take your dog for a walk? So that he could test out how people responded to him, how the animals responded to him, if this was really something he wanted to do. And then of course we looked at what other people did to see if that was something that he could, how much he could charge, and how many dogs he'd have to walk a day or sit. And sometimes through this discovery process, you find out that, oh, I'd have to do that many. I really don't want to. I love animals, but I'm not willing to put in that much time.
Well, and do you recommend that people create business plans? And is that something that you help with for self-employment?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. When I first started helping people, I thought, they don't need a business plan. I don't have a business plan. But you can have very complex business plans and you can have very simple ones. And it seems that people need something that helps them remember what the direction is that they want to go. So I want to sell this many products, or I want to go to this many conferences, or I want to sell this much art, or I want to be famous, whatever those goals are, then to have it broken down into some actions with timelines, measurable actions with timelines, and who's going to do what. So yes, and it's part of the whole system.
Yeah. Now you brought it up before, but you did bring up past plans. And so I have had people who have done past plans to protect their money for Social Security. They're challenging to get, and they're very underused, but it is an option out there. For my own son, in order to create his past plan, we had to hire somebody to help us. We did not know how to do it. And we did that through self-determination program. So he was able to do that for his. Monica put in that CalAble limit is 100,000. Thank you so much, Monica. And Talene put in the CalAble website in the chat. Thanks, Talene. We're getting close to the end of time, but I wanted to make sure we got all the questions here. You have a comment, Tim?
Regional centers are totally wrong. It's not a generic resource because you are putting in your own earnings. You are earning a wage. How that be a generic resource? Think about it.
I can tell you, regional centers need a lesson on what a generic resource is. I have taught many a service coordinator and sent them the law and explained to them what a generic resource is. They use the term incorrectly very frequently.
So just so that folks know, and probably next year as this is rolling out, we can have an SDP Connect on it. But DVU got a law passed through the state budget this summer that is requiring the Department of Developmental Services to actually define what a generic resource is and provide that guidance to all 21 regional centers. They're also required to do a whole bunch of other things related to generic resources, which is to document whether people are getting it, to provide that data, and to provide recommendations for how people can access generic resources more easily. So that law basically went into effect on July 1st. However, DDS is not the fastest moving ship on the planet, and I would guess that a year from now we'll probably be talking about it.
That was an understatement, Judy.
Nina, did I miss anything on that?
No, but one thing to look out for soon, it's around this time of year, DDS should have that they will send to regional centers kind of a their summary of every single thing from trailer bill, and that will be the first time they'll probably have a description, and they'll probably have some indication of what their plans are about generic resources. So that, like, we'll keep an eye out for that when that comes out.
Christina asked a great question. You mentioned that SDP can pay for equipment for the business. Is this discussion of self-employment limited to individuals over the age of 18? I ask because WRC denied my 15-year-old son equipment to start a DJing business, saying that career employment issues did not come into play until they are out of school. Judy, I'm sure you want to take this one.
Well, that I think it's important to get some clarification from DDS on this. In the traditional system, of course, first of all, they don't pay for anything related to self-employment, but they certainly would support pre-employment skills. They call it adaptive living skills and other kinds of things. My feeling is, in the traditional system, there are certain pieces that you can access that will help increase your budget around employment. And then I think in your spending plan, I think it is really valid to make an argument that that this individual, even though they're younger, is starting their own business. So I don't think it's going to be like an easy solution. I don't think it's going to be an easy ask, but I think it can be done.
Melissa Jones brought up a great point. She said, you do not have to do the California ABLE account. You can use any state's ABLE account, which is correct. I will say, though, the benefit of the California CalABLE account is the California ABLE account does not have what they call clawback. The California prevents clawback, meaning when you pass away, the government can take the money that you had to pay back for any services you used. That's called clawback. They have other terms for it, but that's what they use. California does not permit that. So if you have a CalABLE account, it would prevent that from happening. And Talene said she wanted me to make sure to say, this is not a retirement account. It's a savings account that can have investments. You're absolutely correct. I use that analogy and I didn't want anybody to think you're right, Talene. It's not a retirement. They kind of act like them. They look like them because you can do the investments in it. And I think, somebody asked, we're right at 6 o'clock, so we need to go, but somebody quickly asked what business my son had. My son is an artist and he creates his art and he sells it on pins and all kinds of different things. And he has a website that he sells them on, and he goes to fairs and sells it. And that's what his business is. Happy as can be. So he loves what he's doing for work. So everybody, thank you so much for being here. Becky, amazing. Thank you so much for coming. Judy, thank you for talking about our conference. Monica, also everybody, and to our interpreters, thank you for being patient with me. I know I talk fast. So everybody, we will see you at our next SDP Connect. Thank you so much.